All right. God's promise. Genesis 15:17. Abraham and his wife were very old and hadn't had a child, but Abraham trusted in God. God told him that he would be a father, that he would have too many descendants to count, as many as the stars in the sky, and that the land would belong to them. Then God told him to prepare a sacrifice. That evening God spoke to him again, telling him that his descendants would be slaves in a country not their own for 400 years, but they would at last be free and would return to their own land. And those who have enslaved them will be punished. When the sun had set in darkness has fallen, a smoking firepot with blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces of the sacrifice as a sign to Abraham from God. The next one, Abraham entertains angels, Genesis 18. Not long after Abraham saw three strangers passing by, he hurried out to meet them and offered to bring water to wash their feet and food for them to eat, while they rested in the shade of a nearby tree. Sarah baked some bread, while Abraham brought his choicest meat for the men to eat, and milk for them to drink. That's good. Well, that's kind. Then one of the men who was really God asked Abraham where his wife was, when Abraham replied that she was inside the tent. God told him that he would come back within a year, and that Sarah would have given birth to a son. Sarah was listening in the tent and could not help laughing out loud, for she was far too old to have children. But God asked, "Why is Sarah laughing? Nothing is too hard for the Lord." Sure enough, 9 months later, Sarah gave birth to a baby boy named Isaac, which means he laughs. Interesting. So that's where the name comes from. Bad cities. Genesis 18:19. Sodom and Gomorrah were bad cities. The people had turned away from God and were wicked and cruel. God decided to destroy them, but Abraham was worried for his nephew Lot, lived in Sodom. He asked God if he would destroy the city if there were still good men living in it. God said to him, "If there are even 10 people, I will spare the city." Lot was standing by the city gates when two strangers, angels, skies, passed through and begged them to spend the night in his house. He gave them water and washed their feet, prepared a meal for them. But an angry, violent crowd gathered, demanding to send the strangers outside. Lot begged them to leave the strangers alone, for they were his guests. But the mob became angry with Lot, and the angels had to pull him back inside the house. Then they struck the crowd with blindness, so that they could not find the door to break in. Now that's smart, yeah, because those people would have heard him. Okay. God destroys Sodom. That's the next. Sodom. And here comes the consequences. Genesis 19. The angels warned Lot to leave the city with his wife and daughters. That very night was as God was angry and the city will be punished. They took Lot's family by the hand and led them to safety, urging them to hurry. Flee for your lives, run to the mountains and don't look back. As Lot and his family hurried away, they could hear dreadful sounds of a storm of burning sulfur rain down on the city. Nothing and no one survived. Not one building, not one person. But Lot's wife could not help looking back, and as she did, she was instantly turned to a pillar of salt. Lot and his daughters were the only ones to survive the destruction. Shameful. She shouldn't have never looked back. Oh well. And then the next one for today. Isaac is born. Genesis 21. When Sarah was 90 years old, she gave birth to a baby boy, Isaac, just as God had promised. Abraham and Sarah were overjoyed, but Sarah believed her maidservant Hagar was making fun of her. She was so angry with her that she made Abraham send Hagar away, along with her son Ishmael, who was also Abraham's son. Abraham was sad, but God told him things would work out for Ishmael. So he handed Hagar some food and water and sent her to Ishmael into the desert. Soon all the water was gone and began to weep. But the angel of God called Hagar from heaven and said, "Do not be afraid, Hagar. God has heard the boy crying. Lift him up and take him by the hand, for he will be the father of a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. Ooh, an archer. Now that's pretty good. Abraham is tested. Genesis 22. Isaac grew up to be a fine young boy, and his father and his mother were very proud of him and thankful to God. But one day God decided to test Abraham's faith. He told Abraham that he must offer the boy as a sacrifice. Abraham was heartbroken, but his faith in God was absolute. He was prepared everything, just as he have commanded. As he lifted up his knife, suddenly an angel spoke to him. Abraham, Abraham, do not harm the boy. I know now that you love the Lord your God with all your heart, for you would be willing to give up your own son. God sent a ram to a sacrifice in the boy's place. And the angel told Abraham that God would truly bless him and his descendants because of his faith. The next one is a wife for Isaac, Genesis 24. When Isaac has grown into a young man, Abraham asked him, his most trusted servant, to go back to his homeland and find a wife there for his son. This was a difficult task, and when the servant reached the master's hometown, he prayed to God to send him a sign. Let it be whoever comes to offer water, not just me, but to my camels also. Before he had finished praying, beautiful Rebecca came out to draw water from the well. When the servant asked her if he might have a drink, she offered him her jar straight away, and then hurried to draw water for his camels too. The servant thanked God for listening to his prayers. He then explained his mission to Rebekah, and when her father was asked, it was agreed that she should become Isaac's wife. When she traveled back to Canaan, to meet her husband, Isaac fell in love with her instantly, and she's with him. Okay, the next chapter, the next page. Jacob and Esau. Genesis 25:27. Rebekah was old before she became pregnant, and when she did, it was with twins. They seemed to kick and push so much inside her that she was worried, but God told her that the two boys would one day be the fathers of two nations. The firstborn was a hairy boy. Hairy boy was a hairy boy who they named Esau, and the brother was called Jacob. When they grew up, Esau became a great hunter, while Jacob was a quieter and spent more time at home. Isaac loved Esau, but Rebekah was especially fond of Jacob. One day, Jacob was preparing a stew when his brother came in a ravenous after a long trip. Esau was so hungry that when Jacob told him he could only have a plate of stew in exchange for his birthright, he agreed. And years later, Jacob cheated his elder brother out of his father's blessing too. When Isaac was very old and nearly blinded, he wished to give his blessings to the eldest son Esau. Jacob, with the help of his mother, disguised himself as Esau. He wore goat skins around his arms so that he would be hairy like his brother. When his father touched him, he believed him to be Esau, and gave him his blessing to be in charge of the family when he died. When Esau found out what had happened, he was so angry that he wanted to kill his younger brother. So Rebekah sent Jacob away from home where he would be safe, right? Esau was going to kill him. Shoot. After he cheated him. Oh boy. Jacob's dream. Genesis 28. Jacob traveled to the house of his uncle Laban. On the way, he stopped for the night. Using a hard stone as a pillow, he laid down to sleep. That night, he had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching the heaven. And the angels were walking up and down it. At the very top stood the Lord. He said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you lie. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread to the west and the east, to the north and the south. I am with you, and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised. That's the God all of us know, because he never breaks his promise. He never did. He's the Almighty. Well, this is it. That's it. That's it, everybody. Thank you all for hearing me read the Bible today. And I hope you got questions for yourselves after I read all of this. This is Elements of Jones 1542, about to sign out. Thank you all for hearing me read the Bible for the day. Let God help you out in your life and do good. In Yahshua's name, with thanksgiving. So be it. See everybody. Bye-bye for now. There'll be more of these in a future date. There'll be more. So see you all next time.